So what do we understand by theories of origin of state? First, let us tackle the concept of state, first of all. So if before going into existence, state has always been the most important problems, or there has always been the concepts around it, how state has existed before. So if we consider the most important problem in political science, the most known question that has been there since the ages is how did we come up with this structure of state, and how did it came into existence, and what all theories that support for the existence of state as of today. And if suppose there are theories, how better they uphold with the evidence, the empirical evidence or the text evidence, or the evidence orally given. So in a way, if we understand state is an association with population, territory, government, and sovereignty. This is basic and modern example of state. So, but exa if you are writing in political science, if you are giving a definition of any particular term or the word, you have to understand, you have to quote it with the political scientists who have given a head before of it. So now here we are considering the example of state from the definition of Sabine. So Sabine says state is a unity of culture, it's a sense of loyalty, it's a common land, your birth land, your motherland, or sense of language, the common language, your first tongue that you speak of, or your identity, like your identity. Suppose we are Indians, how do we identify ourselves when we go outside of India? That's how identity or state help you have or form an identity, and identity of history, like how did you exist as a human being of that particular state. So hope you all understand this first side. So I won't be reading it out. If you want to note, you can note it down. So next we understand, like, the main concept today is theories of origin of state, right? So what are theories? There are theories, you might have heard theories about like this maths, the Pythagoras theorem, or any other theories, or evolution theory, Darwin's evolution theory, etc. So, but now if we understand origin of theory of state, if there exists a theory, there exists counter theory, and there exists criticism to the theory. So here, if we tackle what is theory of state, that question should nab you, like with the basic introduction that I have given, with the title saying like theories of origin of state. The first thing that should come to your mind is like, what theory? Like, what do I understand by theory? Why is it called a theory? Why am I reading theory in political science perspective? So theory is nothing but, here theory from the perspective of state is it's an analysis of nature, origin, and function. So let us tackle like what is nature, what is origin, and what are the functions. Nature means what are the prospects. I mean, what is state? If someone asks you what's your nature, you will start to describe like, I'm an introvert, I'm an ambivert, I talk, I speak, I'm socially anxious, I do not mingle with someone very fastly. So in a way, if we understand nature and origin, this has been an urban question since ages. So if we sit down to tackle, we might not come up with an answers in a day or two. So origin of state has always been a question, and there's been various theories with empirical data, and there's been some of the theories with no empirical data. And political science academians or political science theorists have rejected or deduced that these theories are not political enough. These could be tackled from social perspective. So nature, origin, and functions of the state in, like, if in theory of state. In theory of state, we would be studying or analyzing what is the nature, how did we come up with the state formation, and what are its functions. So in a way, This theory of state is about nature, origin, and functions, and it provides a framework for understanding political system and exercise of power. So this political system has been, how do we say, has been evolved over a period of time. Now, today date, we are talking about the political system in a more civilized manner. Earlier in the primitive society, that could be called as a tribe or group of nomads or or group of people under a head of kingmen, like that. So this theory of state, in a way, this provides framework that how political system has evolved and how can we tackle that political system, and how the concept of power, how the concept of power, organization, and forming a group or social uh, this how, what do we call it, the social organizations. So this concept, the existence of ruling tactics have come into power. This examines the relationship between state and society. So in a way, the coming theories will be reading or will be tackling about how the family helped, and how the accumulation of wealth, how the introduction of agriculture, and how the introduction of chiefdom has evolved over a period and helped gain the state and society. So this is what will be reading in the theory of state. I don't know who is it drawing lines. I mean, this behavior is. Can you please not hold on to your screens? Yeah. So what are the theories of state? So most important one are like divine origin theory, the force theory, the patriarchal or matriarchal theory, and the social contract theory. But these are just a speculative theories. Speculative means they don't have any proper evidence. Suppose if there's a Pythagoras theorem, and the perpendicular and the distance would be equal to the square root of the other two sides, right? So, but here there's very or little less evidence to prove some of the theories. Suppose the force theory and the patriarchal and matriarchal theories, they have little or no evidence from the perspective of political science. So these theories are discredited. So now we are left with four major theories. Okay, fine. Let me go to what are the four major theories, then I'll come back. So these four major theories will be reading in political sciences: divine origin theory. First one, yeah. For first one is divine origin theory. Then next, second one is historical is or evolution theory of state. And next is social contract theory. And and the next one is Marxist theory of state. So these are the four theories we would be reading in theories of state. If you go back to the slide 4, here we have here we have come up with. So here we have come up with what is the divine origin theory. Yeah, so what is divine origin theory, force theory, patriarchal and matriarchal theory, and social contract theory? But if we go to the slide 5, we are deduced to divine origin theory, historical evolutionary theory of state, social contract theory, and Marxist theory of state. Okay, but this force theory and patriarchal and matriarchal theories, these have been removed from the speculative of political science. So let us understand what and why. So force theory is nothing but use of force, violence, or aggression or in a group of people. Let's suppose we call them tribe and a tribal chief or tribal kingman, tribal kinsman. been fought, been fighting among each other, and this in a way led for the state to have a concept of let us have an external authority or higher authority where we'll have our freedom, where we'll protect our property. So that's how it came into existence. But there are no proper evidences from the perspective of political science. So this patriarchal, matriarchal societies also, they say that the states have formed as a perspective of the primitive society. The primitive society led for the formation of families. These families, in a way, turned into the tribes and the tribal heads, and the social strata has been formed, and the wealth has been accumulated. And this tribe system, in a way, led for the formation of state. But here they did not, they reduced the family system or the family blood group or the family values to zero. So this theory has still in this theory, patriarchal and matriarchal society is still in use from sociological perspective. We have denied it from the political perspective. So the slide 5, so divine origin theory. Today unit will be tackling about divine origin theory and historical evolution of theory, historical theory of state or evolutionary theory of state. I will be talking about the first two, and the next two we might be tackling it in next class. So let's come to divine origin theory of state. So divine origin theory of state. If we decode these words, divine, divine, divinity, divinity, you all know the God sense, the origin theory. So the theories which originated from the viewpoint of divinity or God fearing. I mean, this is something the otherworldly powers, magical powers that helped gain or that helped form state on the earth. Hope you got it. So this divine origin theory, if we all know, this has been the oldest or the simplest theory of state. So why do we call it the oldest theory of state? Because in a way it is one of the earliest also. So but this offers a simple technique, or this provides a simple explanation to offer where this theory, this divine origin theory, is more of a political authority perspective rather than the state. I mean, this is more individual based than an organization, than a community, than a group of people. So why? So why rather it is a formation of the single individual rather than the group? In because in divine origin theory, they say that state is a creation of God, ruled by the individual who is regarded as an agent of God. Like, how do we say that? They say state is created by God. This is not man-made. This is something like magical. This is something that has come from above. So this state is other created by the humans of created by God of otherworldly, and this has been spiritual, superstitial or magical powers which led to the formation. So divine origin of theory of state has been the oldest. How oldest? This has been in picture since the beginning of political science as a discipline. I mean, you can call it way before, but if we address the formation of nation state system or formation of groups or formation of tribes, there's a political autonomy, or there's a political power behind those formations. So this divine origin theory of state has been there in existence since the beginning of political science. So there is, in fact, yeah, who is it? Sorry, don't disturb the screen. So there is, in fact, the evidences for it. Example, what evidences? Before going to what evidences, we'll tackle what is divine origin theory of state. So in this theory, they say that the state is creation of God, and this God has sent a kingpin or a king who is subordinate to God onto the earth, and these descendants of the king or descendants of the first king and the remaining kings who has come as a dynastical way, are the agents of God, and nobody should question them. Like like an individual like you and me should not question the king. Why? Why? Because they are the they are the other part of the God on earth. You are getting it, right? So they are the other agent of God on earth. So if you question that king, you are in a way questioning the God. So what will happen if you question the God? Or what will happen if you abuse the God? You will accumulate sins. You will be called a sinner. So this concept says that one, nobody should question the God. Sorry, nobody should question the king. If you question the king, you'll be termed as a sinner because he's the highest authority. He's responsible to only to himself. He's questionable only to God. Nobody should question him because he drives his powers from God. You it dates back to divine, this divinity. So this particular system, this particular theory has been very popular in Middle Ages or in the ancient medieval periods. For example, in Manusmriti it says that the people of the earth are vexed with the destruction and the wars that has been happening on the earth. They went to the God and prayed to God to send a person to look after them, uh, where the destructions could be stopped. So that king who's been sent, or king who's formed a organization or who's formed a state, is God sent, and they should not be questioned. And also, if coming to the Middle Ages in ancient Greece, the popular culture of where the church system and the king, where church is higher authority. Nobody should not question the church. So in the Middle Ages, nobody should question the church. And in fact, this primitive society, religion and politics has always been going hand in hand. Like you cannot divide politics from division. Like there's no concept of secularism in a modern day terms. You can ask me which type of secularism. So the secularism, there are two types, I think. So first one is the strict division, like France, of religion, or in Indian version, if you call it equal consideration of all the religions. So these two concepts of secularism has not been present in olden days. So that's why olden days, rather than calling it an olden days, we can call it a primitive society where there's no proper organization, there's no proper state structure has been formed. So this old text of Mahabharata and Old Testament Bible, they say that the king on earth is God sent. He's the ultimate power, his ultimate authority on earth. Nobody should question him. If you question him, you will be called a sinner. So now let us understand what are the rights of this king. Who Divine origin theory, let us understand the rights of the king. So, rights of the king, like any person, the God sent, they has some rights. I mean, they come up with the preconditions of like why you should not question me. So these are been said in Law of Free Monarchies is a book by Robert Filmer. You can write it down. This is an important question or MCQ for the coming exams or the PG set or the UGC net. So this Law of Free Monarchies of Robert Filmer, in this book, he says that Adam is the first king sent on earth. Okay. So he's God sent. He is equivocal to God on earth. Then it also says that the kings, subsequent kings who's been ruling after Adam will also have the same powers as Adam, and they must also be considered as God sent. Okay. So on this concept, King one, James I, King of England, who ruled England from 1967, 1625, he says that, so I am also God sent, and you should not never question me. And the example he uses is this: Adam is the first king on earth, so he shall not be questioned. Same thing, I'm a descendant of Adam, so I also shall not be questioned. Okay. Next one is the rights of kings are: king derives his powers from God directly, so he is above all. If you read this statement clearly, see, in in India, let's suppose remove king and put prime minister. So prime minister derives all his powers from what? Or president derives all their powers from what? From constitution, right? So here there's no constitution. This is not democracy. Okay. So this might have turned into a tyranny or a despotism in the later years. So this monarch who rules, he derives his powers from God. So there is no prefixed notion of what are his powers are. You are getting it, right? So anything could be considered as his power, because he says that I don't have any higher authority on earth. I am what I am, and I whatever I say is the they considered as uh, yeah, it must be considered as this should not question his authority or power. So this gives no legal obligation to people. Where do people come into picture in this? People don't come into any picture in this, because there are no legal obligations for the people. Why are there no legal obligations for the people? Because there is no text. He says, King, God gives me power. So I am above all. I shall derive power from God, and whatever I shall write is final one. So as there is no legal text, like constitution of ours, suppose what happens if there's a state emergency. We follow the constitution book, and the state emergency must be declared based on if the state functionary has been compromised. So here there is no text only. Here whatever king says is truth, so people has no right to talk about it. Let's suppose let's suppose if you even speak, only moral obligation. It's like you can just tell them that this is not humanly possible. This is not humanity. This is inhuman. But ultimately, you cannot question him, because he is God sent. Also, if you question him by mistake, if you question him, it is sin. You have committed a biggest sin. So this going against the God is going against going against the king is going against the God. Why? Because he's God sent. He drives his powers from God and himself, and there's no highest authority. So if you question, so ultimately, like comparatively, this similarity thing, God equals king, king equals God. So if you question king, you are in a way questioning the God. So this in a way turns you a sinner, and they call themselves as kings or forms of God on earth. And also, interestingly, if you understand, as he is the authority on earth, he holds immense power of life and death. So this statement has very deeper perspective meaning to understand. He holds immense power of life and death means king can decide who can live or who can die. You are getting it, right? So Matlab, this gives him ultimate power. He is the monarch. There is no concept of monarchy. There's literally this has turned into a tyranny. Like there's no one to question you. You are the supreme authority. You can do whatever that comes to your mind. There's no rule book. So these are the rights of the king, and some divine rights are as also follows. So both state and authority are creations of God. So they are forms of God on earth. So what do we understand by this statement? So the state and authority are creations of God. They are not man-made. So if they are not man-made, they are created by the God. So in a way, God also has created king. Okay. So king created by God on earth. So they have powers. They have absolute authority. And next one is hereditary right is indefeasible of king. It's like the kings and their upcoming generation and their generation and the coming generation. It's their true right to become the king. You cannot come and question like why your kid has become king after you. So king cannot be questioned by common people for his doing. Why? Because he's God sent, right? He's God sent. If you question him, you will be executed because he holds the authority of life and death, and you will be called a sinner. And olden days, to be called a sinner is equivocal to execution. So he's accountable to who? You can question this. He's accountable only to God because, example, uh, from the democracy in India, if a prime minister does anything wrong against the constitution, he's accountable to who? He's accountable to president. He's accountable to public. He's accountable to violating the constitution. He's accountable to the ill done, and Supreme Court can get into it if there's a criminal thing. So here, as there is no text, he's accountable to only God, and God is omnipresent. He's everywhere, but we cannot see him. So how will you tell God that king has committed a crime? So in a way, he's absolute authority. He can do whatever that comes to mind. So next important thing is resistance. Resistance means if king gives you an order and you say that I won't be abiding it, then you are considered a sinner, and this is unlawful. This laws comes from only king's powers. Okay. Also, you cannot question him. This is we have been reading it since the slide 4, 5, 6. So these are some of the divine rights of the king as follows. And criticisms. See, in political science, if you're talking about any political thinker or administrative thinker or any policies or any theories, or if you're giving any statement, or if we are analyzing, suppose if you're talking about Indian politics, everything has a criticism. Criticism in a way is like what fault it is. See, there is no ultimate good. You are not, example, you are a human being. You are not 100% right. You are not 100% good. Like, what is good? What good is subjective, right? Something is good to you, it might not be good from my perspective. So, good is subjective. So, here also, every theory is subjective from the thinker that who has written. So that shall have criticisms. I might criticize your characteristics, which you might feel it's not bad at all, but it is bad to me. Same like that, the theories are criticized. So here the theories are also criticized. So, but before going to that, if we understand the modern day use of the divine origin theory of state. So even in during 19th century, the kings of Prussia, the kings of Russia, and the Austria, all these kings, three kings, have formed a holy alliance. Why? Because they said that we are God sent. Whatever we do is the ultimate. You cannot question us. So that turned what? That turned out to be first criticism of absolute power, absolute authority, king can become tyrant. So this holy alliance of three kings declaring that we are absolute authority, we are absolute power. So this ruling of monarchy, this monarch have become a tyrant. They are what they are, they rule the country. And even modern day, even Dalai Lama is considered as an incarnation of Buddhist monk. Uh, and modern day demarcation of religion and this what do we call it, state system has been prevailing since the beginning. But here we are talking about the origin of theory of state. So these are king can become a tyrant. So it is against, why it has been criticized, because it is against the democratic values and political consciousness. So why? See, democratic values over a period after the formation of state, these people have started believing that why do we have to follow your rules? Why does your son or he becomes the next king in line? Why they can't be like we choose someone who would do things in our interest, in larger interest. So this democratic values, this rise of democratic values and political consciousness, like people have started to become or started to become smart or start to be questioning things. So this consciousness of people uh, led to the decline of a theory of divine origin of state. And also it encourages royal despotism. Like we have read his ultimate authority and he is the god on earth. This creates royal despotism and there's no scope for taking the larger public interest into picture, because king while taking or giving orders, he'll consider only those things which are favorable to him. But in fact, what is democracy? Democracy is taking interest of larger community or larger people into picture, right? So in the new age of secularism, as we had spoken about it, like the division of secularism based on the religion, religion cannot be sole criteria to become a king. So why? This question why comes when we go back to the slide two. They talk about the text of the Old Testament or the the Pope, where the Christianity where Pope are semi-gods, or in Caliph where the king, uh, the Caliph is a priest king. So all these authorities have helped understand how this can be a sole criteria to become a king, right? So also these methods are very unsatisfactory, unscientific, and inadequate because it is only done in the interest of single individual. It do not consider the interest of larger perspective. This divine origin theory, in a way, gave the rulers and the supporters of the kings to do whatever they would love to do, and then uh, then cover it in the viewpoint of we are God sent and we cannot be considered as we cannot be considered as this. So next one, yes, next theory, as we spoke about, is historical or evolutionary theory. This is the second one. Historical or evolutionary. What comes to your mind if I say historical? Matlab old since the beginning, right? Evolutionary. Evolutionary means quite changing over a periods. It's been constantly changing, evolving. So this theory, according to this theory, state is an outcome of historical growth over centuries. First theory is what? State is God creation, right? So state is earlier theory, divine origin theory. State is God creation, and the king by the state is the created by the God. But here, state is an outcome of historical growth over several centuries. And evolution of social structures and processes. What are social structures? Social structures are family systems, tribes, chiefdoms, kinpins, and this authority, the individuals of similar social status and the processes are like over a period, like suppose there's been a war today, and you'll tackle it by following certain criteria. Then next day, tomorrow, some other war comes. You cannot put the same methods in tackling the war for tomorrow, right? So there has to be evolving procedure. So this state system is not that's came up all of a sudden from nowhere. It's been there. It's been slowly existing. Okay. So it is developed on the basis of scientific, historical, anthropological, sociological. Now, let us talk about this. The divine origin theory was criticized on the basis that it is not scientific. Yes, true. Why? Because they say this, they talk about God and God's creation, and the king is a supreme authority created by the god, or the magical man during the primitive societies. These magical men who got powers and superstition beliefs, they helped evolve the state. But here, this evolutionary or historically, it is scientific because why? Because we have all known that this has been there, slowly growing, and this is not something created by the God or created by some magical entity that do not belong to the earth. So, in a way, we can say it's scientific and historical. So, yeah, same thing. Historical is like this has been there since long. But how? Earlier, in a smaller pockets where people have started for their smaller individuals or smaller pockets or smaller group of individuals. Over a period, this has become a larger entity where the population has increased. So this anthropological is human evolution, and sociological is social conditions like customs, the wealth, and the social strata. How social strata was not there earlier. It has started coming into picture after the groups, individuals have started. Why? We'll read it in the next slides. So there's an evidence of empirical research. Empirical research is like there are evidences for it, like there are human evidences. These evidences has been studied over a period of time. So this historical theory, the main proponents are, you should remember them. The main proponents are Burgess, McIver, Garner, and Gettel. So one, two, three, four. These four political thinkers are the main proponents or the main supporters, or who have worked basically on historical or evolutionary theory. So let us understand what is historical evolutionary theory. There's a definition given by Garner. He says, state is neither a creation of God nor the result of superior physical force, nor the creation of resolution of on convention or a mere expansion of family. So let us tackle this by one. State is neither a creation of God. Yes, true. If we had said that it is a creation of God, that would have become a divine origin theory. Then next, it is not a result of superior force. Yes, this is not something formed by magical powers. This has been there on earth, and no external authority or no external being has been there. So, nor the creation of resolution or convention. Resolution on convention means, example, United Nations forms a resolution on certain conventions. Example, convention we can consider terrorism. So, this has formed resolutions on certain things must be considered as terrorist doings. Like it has defined what is terrorism, then what could be considered as a terrorism, and what to do if there's been a terrorist attack by the enemy country. How can we tackle these problems? So these are all resolutions formed, and people have come up and signed and agreed. So state is not that. You're getting it. So it's not mere expansion of family. Yes, state is not a huge community of family of same blood groups. Okay. So you cannot call it your household, suppose your household has, previously, if we are talking about primitive society, your household has about like 15, 20 members, same blood group, and there's an chief, and that cannot be called as a state because it's eventually your organization. It got nothing to do with the huge number of individuals of various interests. So state is not a creation. Yes, they are very particular on this point. If you are writing historical or evolutionary theory, you have to keep this in mind that state is not a creation, but I mean, this has not come up like in a fluke or in a second, but this has over gradually, slowly grew up. Just like you are not born and you become 20 years, you will slowly grow up. Same thing, state also. So wait, there's been certain factors we'll be reading in the next slides that helped evolve state. Example, religion, kinpin, political consciousness, and war or use of force. So, so according to Gettle, he says that state arose as a result of several social institutions emerged almost imperceptibly. So, so he says what? State is a result of social institutions. What are social institutions? Family. Family is also social institution. Then same community or same people belonging to social classes. So in a way, if we start with the starting point, family. So he says state is a result of several institutions that have come together and formed an alliance to protect or save themselves. So state is a product of history and continuous development of human society. So this evolutionary theorists say that state is a product of history, of course, history, because it's been slowly and gradually progressing itself and the continuous development of human society. Yes, why? Because there's been a development of agriculture, there's been a scientific questioning, there's been a growth of human consciousness that why I should believe or why I should blindly follow your rules and all. So next
One
slide is evolutionary. So
has, huh?
someone, can you please turn off your mic? So five important factors contributed for the rise and growth of state. So these are the five important factors that we'll be reading historical or evolutionary theory. First one is kinship. You can note them down. These are very important. Religion, economic factors, force, power, show of power, or war, or political consciousness. So now read what is kinship. So kinship is nothing but an organization or an authority which is formed on the basis of obedience or commands given by an individual. See, uh, let's suppose example, if we consider the state system, this authority, or if you are not obedient enough to the religion you follow, or if you are not obedient enough to the laws of your territory, you will be not called as a citizen, right? You will be defected. This is not political defection, this is as an citizenship defection. So, according to Henry Maine, says that kinship created common consciousness, common interest, and common purpose. So, how did this concept of kinship has come into existence? Kinship, example, slowly the family system has evolved and people started having babies and slowly their families grows and they started accumulating wealth. So so automatically, in order to control that family or in order to have the control over the wealth, there's this person, this chief, the family head started taking responsibility of the things. So how family stays together because they all have a common interest, common purpose, etc. So this kingship is a larger perspective, like a group of one tribe, group of two, tribe two, tribe three, tribe four. All these tribes has consciously, not unconsciously, consciously. They know what they are doing. They wanted to end this uh, fights or this disruptions or taking over some others' property. So first, as their common interest and common purpose led them for the establishment of kinship. So this MacIver, he says that first association of all societies is a family. So this historical evolution gives priority to the family system because that is the first single individual unit where the state, as in larger individual unit, has formed. So this kinship created society, and society in a way created state at large. You understood, right? Kinship created, then smaller kinships created larger society, then larger societies in a group created the state formation and organized them. So family is a close knit of kinship. In a way, state is family at large. The way family created kinship. Okay, this kinship in a groups with similar interests create a society. This created with individuals at large in a groups created state. So in a way, this state can be considered as family at large, but this has been criticized by various academians. So the next one is so they say kinship is an outcome of family bound together by blood relationship due to natural regard for interest and rights. So you can all understand natural regard for rights and interests. In order to protect their rights, in order to protect their interests, in order to protect their wealth, they have come together and thought that there has to be a larger association where they can have the authority looking over everybody. So family created tribe, tribe created kinsmen. These kinsmen of all the tribes uh, thinking that they all have common ancestor and led to the formation of state. So, but Gettel, he gives state is a larger form of family, and these functions are all those of kinsmen combined. You understood, right? This family, tribe, group of kinsmen, then formation of state. So, factors such as blood relations, common interest, special occasions, special code led rise to political organizations. Next one is religion. So religion and kinship are closely knit. This can be considered religion and uh, uh, power or authority are closely knit in divine right theory, right? So here religion and kinship, but here kinship is not a single individual. They are like group, community, all the individuals that has been existing in the groups. So led to the crucial role, and religion is a sign and seal of, say, religion. If you are abiding by the religion, means you are obedient enough. You have a common interest. You think that your fellow religion person is your common blood, or you both are same because you abide by the same religion. So religion reinforces sense of unity, respect for authority. Okay, you are obedient enough to respect that he follows same values, I follow same values. We are talking this whole from the primitive society perspective. You don't relate this to the later days, okay? So priest religion created in a way priest, and this priest led has created political communities. So religion is a source of legitimacy. Uh, this is modern example. They say religion is a source of legitimacy for the state. Why? Because during the partition, Pakistan solely partitioned from India on the basis of religion, and the Khalistan movement, Sikhs, for the separation, for the separate land. This is also based on the religion. And Afghanistan also is truly based on the notion of religion. So they say these states are formed. I mean, this is not formed yet, but there's been a movement or fight. So these two are formed on the basis of religion. So we all know India is a secular nation and it maintains equal distance. So, but eventually, religion plays a lot of role in our state formation. This we can tackle if at all we have political Indian political classes, but now we are in theory, so let's stick to the theory. So the third factor is economic factors of the property. Economic factors such as food, shelter, and livelihood. Now what happened? Earlier, human beings, their main is like nomads roaming around, searching for food, and uh, living on day-to-day basis for the food. But slowly, this economic accumulation or economic factors can be tackled in three stages, where people started to accumulate property and contributed for the evolution of state. Now, what are these three stages? First is huntsman stage, where hunting is their own sole purpose. Next one is herdman. Next one is husbandry. So, in huntsman, people wandered, these nomads wandered in groups, lived together as everybody is wandering. There are no social distinctions because everybody was equal. Their whole criteria is to survive for that day. The next stage is herdsman stage. Herdsman stage, what happens is, herdsman stage, once they started rearing the cattle and settled down, not like huge establishments, but uh, the smaller, the initial establishments, they started to accumulate property. Okay, how this property was accumulated? Accumulated mostly on what do we call it, the strength or power. So this differentiation based on wealth started. Now, what happens is patriarch took authority. Patriarch means head of the family, took authority over wealth and social dominance. So, in a way, this accumulation of wealth and family heads taking over the personality, or taking over the wealth, led to the concept of population, or led to the concept of organization and sovereignty. Like, I am head to my family and I am sovereign head. You have no authority to look into it. But in husbandry stage with accumulation of property, in the form of land, animals, and settlements, some sort of order uh, has evolved in order to protect the property. As they, because the people started to look into things and they have analyzed, like, I have to protect my property. So they created an organization to protect and settle disputes. That's how economic factors influence create state. Next one is use of force or war. So with increase in population and with increase in accumulation of property, this group of tribes have started to attack each other, or this fight against each other. So they, which led to the emergence of state because they wanted an external authority to look after their property, to look after their things. But MacIver, he interestingly says that this state emerged out of kinship and religion, which is true because war alone did not create a state. How did war erupt? Due to kinship and due to religious beliefs they have had. So in a way which led to the creation of force. Force is just a uh, one of the essential element. This is not the true element, sole element. So also political consciousness. People started to question things like, why do I have to trust you? Why do I have to believe you? Why do I have to blindly follow your authority? I have I want someone who can represent my interest. So in a way, this coming men, they started to look into the order and administration. So in order to look order and administration, they actually wanted an higher authority or the state to look into things. But earlier, this primitive man, this nomad man, had no desire for political organization because he was a nomad. He was roaming here and there. So he had no or less authority, I mean, interest to form it. So if we conclude it, the primitive forces, now this, you should give credit to kinship, you should give credit to religion, then search for food, accumulation of property, political consciousness led to the emergence of state. But how? It did not happen overnight. It's a gradual evolution. And there's no proper timeline because it's still evolving. Some states are still fighting to establish their authority. Israel, Palestine, They've been fighting, they've been still going on, and also it's not accidental creation by God. It's historical and been created over a time. Yes, thank you. So, sir, shall I end or take less questions or anything? For 7 lessons. What are 7 lessons? Yeah, I hope you all understood the concepts of divine theory, sorry, theories of origin of state. So hopefully, uh, next classes we might be reading about the social contract and Marxist theory. And I hope you are okay with, you understood what is divine origin theory and historical evolution of theory of state. So if someone asks you what is divine origin of theory, you should be able to understand the qualities, the duties of king and how God created. And if someone asks you about historical evolution of state, you should be able to understand or explain the 5 elements that help evolve state. Mm. So yeah, thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'll uh, I'll share the PPTs. You can have a look. The first one is theories of origin of state. Uh, Next is introduction. Introduction is basically we are questioning. Then next one is what do you mean by theory of state? Then comes what are all earlier prospects of theories. Then how did we end up with these 4 theories of state? Then next one, first one, divine origin theory, what it is, introduction. Then what are the rights of the king? If talking from divine origin theory, and some divine rights as follows. Then criticisms of the theory. Then next theory, historical or evolutionary theory, introduction and definitions given by the administrative political thinkers. Next is also the same explanation of Garner and Kettle. They are American proponents. Okay, they are these 5 people are main proponents of this theory. The next one is important factors that contributed to the rise and growth of state. These 5 factors you have to remember. Then kinship, then religion, then economic factors and property, then war and force and political consciousness. Somebody, yes. So, any doubts?
No, ma'am.
So hope you are all clear. So there are 23. Two more minutes. If there's no doubt, then I'll exit the class. Yeah, see you all again. Have a happy weekend.